The motto of the Netherlands, Ik zal handhaven, in English, I will maintain, is said to have been first introduced by William I, who became head of the state of the Dutch Republic in 1572. He adopted the motto from the French province that he inherited from a family member that had previously ruled the Chalon region. The original motto was, I will maintain, defend, support Chalon. But when William I became the head of state of the Dutch Republic, he modified the motto to I will maintain, and embraced it under his coat of arms. In a letter from January in 1565, the then prince explained the significance of the motto through the following words. I will maintain the virtue and nobility, I will maintain the prestige of my name, I will maintain the honor, the faith and the law of the God and the king, and of myself and my friends. The motto of the Netherlands has remained the same ever since, and despite the fact that the motto is in first person, over the time the Dutch nation embraced it as we will maintain. On May 10th of 1940, during the early months of the Second World War, the Netherlands was attacked by German troops. The Netherlands, being right across the North Sea from the territory of the British, represented a strategic position where the German army could position its forces. On the 14th of May 1940, 90 bombers dropped 100 tons of explosives over the city, which resulted in a square mile of Rotterdam being virtually flattened. The devastating consequences of the 30-minute attack were not only limited to the destruction of the central district of Rotterdam, but also included nearly 1,000 reported civilian deaths and left more than 80,000 people without a roof over their heads. After being faced with the consequences of the bombing, the Dutch, in fear of losing another city in the same way, assigned General Wielkenman from the Dutch army with the heavy task of signing their capitulation on the 15th of May 1940. Talking about this deed, General Wielkenman made a powerful summary of his actions, saying that in spite of the fact that the Dutch had signed the capitulation and laid their arms down, they were not defeated. With the new rulers taking over the control, the Dutch industry saw an opportunity and took advantage of it. The majority of factories started accepting German orders shortly after the capitulation, with the large docks and the shipyards following soon after. This fact can also be seen as a sign of the stamina of the Dutch. Furthermore, this display of stamina resulted in 1940 and 1941 becoming the best economic years up to that point of history. The Dutch maintained the status quo of doing what is best for the further development of their country. Initially, the task of developing a reconstruction plan was given to Willem Gerrit Witteveen, but later on, as the war progressed, a group of influential businessmen, along with architects and artists from the upper society, developed a new and better plan. The basic plan, as the two groups named it, offered more space for modern and functional architecture as well as separation of areas for living, working and recreation. It also included plans to move businesses and factories to special industrial estates outside the central district of Rotterdam. Their plan ended up being adopted on the 28th of May 1946, and the actual work started on May 17, 1947. As the reconstruction started, an illuminated sign with the words "Get to Work" written on it was erected at Coolsingel. At the unveiling of the sign, Karel Paul van der Mandela, an important Dutch banker at the time, who had realized what Rotterdam's citizens were faced with, urged both employers and workers to work together through the hard times. Such a task required everybody to work and create work. Despite the initial euphoria surrounding the reconstruction, skepticism and criticism made their way into the minds of the public shortly after the reconstruction was done in 1970. After the reconstruction was finished in 1970, the central district started being criticized for being barren and cheerless. Due to the public unrest during the 1970s, architects from Amsterdam were brought to Rotterdam with the task of adding more charm to the city. This venture led to the demolition of buildings from the reconstruction area, which were replaced by contemporary architecture. The Verwoeste Stad, or the Destroyed City, is a 6-meter statue erected in 1953 in the center of Rotterdam, designed by Ossip Zetkin. The idea behind the statue was born when the artist arrived in Rotterdam in 1946, shortly after the devastating bombing of the city. Zetkin himself described the monument as a cry of horror against the inhuman brutality of this act of tyranny. The 6-meter statue depicts a screaming man reaching his head and hands skywards in agony. The missing heart represents the destroyed city center of Rotterdam, a city without a heart. Despite not being a top tourist attraction nowadays, the statue still represents the pre-war Rotterdam, the dark date of the bombing, and last but not least, the statue represents a sense of pride. The sense of pride comes from the fact that in the defiance of such a great setback, the city pulled itself together and maintained the status quo, becoming the city it is today.